2025 was a great year. My name is Quentin. I'm the Mage Hand Man. Let me know if that worked for you guys. So the title of this video is kind of misleading. I'm going to do a just general wrap-up of my year of reading in 2025. I did not read as many books as I wanted to. I only read 15, which sucked. I did have a very busy year. So it was a good year. I'm cut myself some slack because it was so busy. But next year, man, that reading goal is solid. It's in stone. 25 on the low end. I want to do at least 25 books. On the high end, I'm gonna shoot for 40. That's my big goal. That was my goal this year too, and I only hit 15. So kind of crap my pants this year. I did not read a bad book this year, which is great. That's great news. That being said, there were two books that did not quite live up to the hype, which I do want to talk about. The first of those being, and this is probably my least favorite book I read all year, but like I said, I didn't read a bad book. This was a 3-star out of 5-star book, in my opinion, which is still a positive review, right? 3 stars means that there were aspects that I enjoyed, but it wasn't necessarily something that I would return to again. This might surprise some of you, but that would be The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I was really excited to read this book. Like, really excited. On paper, it is everything I could want in a book. Well, okay, maybe not technically on paper. I describe my feelings with this book like when you're making a meal, right? And you grab ingredients that you love in other dishes and combine them together. And it's just kind of like, meh, you know? I just rather have these other things. That's kind of how I feel about Shadow of the Gods. I loved Orca. I thought that her plot was really good, and that's kind of what saves the book for me, is her whole arc throughout the book. I liked the world building, and the magic system I really liked. It was really the supporting cast and the other two viewpoint characters. I could just not get into them. And there's not a great reason for it. When I think about my time reading this book, I don't really feel like moved by it in the way that I really wanted to. Just for this not to fill me with that, oh, this is cool, that was kind of disappointing. I am really probably not going to finish the rest of the series. If that's a mistake, if you think I should just give it a shot, comment down below. Next, this one's probably gonna piss off some people, which is crazy because I did enjoy the book. It was just not what I thought it would be, and that would be Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. Book Talk and BookTube will not shut up about the Sun Eater saga, and I get it. Just having read this first book, Christopher Ruocchio's prose is great. It's very, very good. Hadrian Marlowe is a great character already in book 1. I'm intrigued. I want to know why he ate that sun. Where my issues come into play are, I guess, just with everybody saying how groundbreaking and how goated Hadrian is, I just didn't expect it to be so influences on the sleeve, if that makes sense. As somebody who grew up like reading Dune and watching Star Wars and like classic fantasy, the whole thing of like he's this nobleman's son who's just my dad doesn't get me. Like that whole first part of the book, I was like, man, I've seen this a billion times. And not necessarily told in the same way, I think, like I said, his prose is the shining beacon of this story. In this book, it is just enhanced so much by Christopher Ruocchio's pen. But I didn't love it. The second half, when he becomes the gladiator-esque, and the Cielsen sort of take a more central part of the story, I did like all that, and I'm intrigued by the quest that they're all going on. But that's the other thing. I mean, I know Valka, I think is her name, but like the rest of the supporting cast, I really, it's not coming to me. Okay, yeah, so those were the two books that I wish I got a little bit more out of. I am definitely going to continue. I'm going to continue the Sun Eater saga. I already bought the second book. I'm looking forward to it. I hear it only gets better, but if by the end of the second book, if I'm not just a little bit more in love with the series, I'm probably going to put it down. All right, this is the secret sauce of the video. This is the meat. You got to have the meat. These are my top 5 favorite reads of 2025. Let's go! And I only read 15 books this year, and like 7 of them were by the same author. So I'm only doing 5 because I don't think it would be fair to every book I read if it was just this one guy taking up almost every spot. I will mention who that author is when I get to them in my list, but starting at number 5. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This was a pick that my sister-in-law chose for our book club. It is the only horror novel I read this year, and it was damn good. It's really scratched a Stephen King-esque itch that I didn't really know that I had. I mean, one really cool aspect about this is former Catholic, grew up in a Catholic school, went on a mission trip to the Indian reservation that this book takes place on, and so they would talk about like Glacier National Park and the Blackfeet Indian Reservation up in Montana, and I'd be like, hey, I know that place. I've been to that lake. So my enjoyment stems much more from other things, not just, I've been there, but like, it's kind of cool to mention. The creature in the story is like pants crappingly scary. Like there are times we were moving at the time into a more rural part of the state that we live in, and nighttime's creepy out here, and it's not any better because I read this book, I'll tell you that. From a prose standpoint, I also have to love on the fact that this book uses second-person POV in a way that I really, really love. You don't see that very often. You don't see second person, where the author is talking to you, and and I love that. I love when authors do that, and I think when it's done this well, it just enhances the story. He does a great job talking about generational trauma and feeling like you can never really like escape. There's this imminent threat, this unavoidable sort of weight that settles in at the very sort of tail end of this book that is horrifying to read. This book reminds me of Macbeth in a way. I'll tie the knot. Hold on. Where as soon as it starts, there's just a sense of like, oh man, everything's gonna go wrong. Like all these people are in for a bad time, and they are. I would recommend this for fans of horror, obviously, and also if you like just thrillers and tension, and you're wanting to get into horror. There's some crazy body horror in this, actually. If you're not prepared for like a horror book, then I probably wouldn't read this. It's very good, though. Very good. And I recommend it to you. Next up at number 4. At number 4. The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. She robbing on my hob. She robbing on my hob till I assassin. It's apprentice. There's something there, and we're going to work on it together, you and I. Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice. I really loved this book. Starting off 2026, I'm reading Mistborn. I'm a big Brandon Sanderson fan, and I've never read the Mistborn series at all. And I kind of broke up with him for the last year. Not out of any general protest or anything like that, just like it's that time where I had to see somebody else. I read this right before going into Mistborn. It helped me kind of see how some people can like just not really mesh with Brandon Sanderson's prose. Because while I think he's a very talented writer, this stuff like this is just on a whole nother level, man. I mean, she is just insane. There are so many things that she does well. Her character writing, her prose, the way that she describes emotions, and the way that she conveys them without explicitly telling you this is how this character is feeling, it just treats the audience like they understand social cues, and that's just so refreshing. Like reading a book that doesn't just, hand you everything it's trying to say explicitly is so refreshing to read. It's like waking up in the night and drinking cold water whilst thirsty, And I really appreciated that about this book. Fitzchivalry, Burrich, Chade. I loved all of these characters by the end of this book more than most characters in anything that I read this year. It really took a lot for me to not just jump right into the next book in the series. I bought it. It's right up there. But I have to give myself a little bit more time with some other series before I can just dive into Robin Hobb. I do this thing every single year where I pick an author and I'm like, come here. And I just read like all their stuff. And then I feel like other things sort of fall to the wayside. So there's some other books I want to read before I really dive into Robin Hobb, because I can feel that sort of, that thing happening where I'm like, I'm just going to sink into this rabbit hole. And before I let myself do that, there are other things that must happen. So, phenomenal book. I recommend this book to people who are character first, who are looking for a really unique voice, and just well-written fantasy. There's really not a whole lot you can say past that. It is just superb the way it is written. Moving on. Easing on down the road, as foretold in The Wiz. M.L. Wang's Blood Over Brighthaven. This book is great. This is a great book. This knocked my socks off. Golly gee, it knocked my socks off, kid. Oh, man. I don't even know. So, it's self-contained. It's just a one-book, standalone. And I love that about it, because it doesn't need to be anything else. A lesser author would take the success of this book and go, now I'm going to write 75 billion books in this series. And M.L. Wang has the integrity to go, this is the story I wanted to tell. We're done. And I loved pretty much everything about this book. The character work is divine. Sayona and Tommel, their relationship throughout the story is so good. It's so realistic, because it's not just like smut, where they're like, and they're like, it's like it brews over time, and there's that like realistic imperfection that is just so awesome. The other thing that I really like about this is the magic system. The magic system is awesome, and the plot twist about halfway through this book like blew my balls off. It was insane. I'm not sure if I'll leave that in. Only the future. Only time will tell. Only time will tell if we stand the test of time. It's a great book. It's a really, really good book. There's a really strong feminist message in it, which is also done very well. The ontological points that it's trying to make, I feel, are even cooler. As an aforementioned ex-Catholic, the deconstruction of her faith throughout the book, and outside voices sort of unraveling those threads that, as somebody who is a firm believer in this thing, just can't ignore over time, that just really hit home with me in a way that not many books do. And it was just very cool. It was very, very cool to read. I don't know, man. It was just great. I know I've said every book from here on is a 5-star book, but this is just such a good, easy, quick read. Not easy as in it's easy to stomach. There's some pretty disturbing moments in it towards the end, but God, it is so well done. I recommend this book to people who want a really impactful standalone fantasy novel that has a robust magic system and a doomed romance, or whatever. It's great. You would probably enjoy it. Next! Number two for you is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which Ah, my God, this book is nuts. Okay, so this is presenting a kind of unique challenge because the joy of this book is best preserved by me not telling you anything about it. You should go into this book totally blind if you can. I will try to tell you the things that I like about it without really telling you what it's about. It's about 250 pages, I'll tell you that much. Somewhere, my father-in-law is laughing at that joke. Susanna Clarke does a phenomenal job writing first-person prose. I'm not a huge first-person narrative fan. I think when it's done well, it's done really well. Like one of my, I think, big gripes with Red Rising trilogy, the original Red Rising trilogy, is sometimes the first-person narrative, especially in book one, doesn't necessarily feel like first person. It doesn't feel like somebody talking to you or actually telling you a story. And I feel like that improves over the trilogy, but when you find a book that does it in a way that just feels natural and doesn't take you out of it when there's something that is a little bit more literary, prose-wise, it's really special. And this book does that in spades. In spades, I say. There are really great characters in this book. 2 really great characters in this book. And your viewpoint character is one of the most lovable and endearing characters I have just ever read. It is, like, ever. I miss the main character of this book. I just want to check in on him, see how he's doing, make sure he's all right. The mystery at the heart of it, as the narrator is unraveling it, we are unraveling it with him, and that experience is just so surreal and so unique. This was a book that I read on my honeymoon. On my honeymoon. I read this book on my honeymoon. And I just wanted something kind of short and sweet for the airplane. And I ended up reading it while we were at the hotel, our second night there. She was reading Red Rising 1, and I was reading this, and we were both like, do you just want to stay in and read? Because we were both just so enthralled by the books that we were reading. And, I mean, the ending of this book, the last 3 sentences of this book are some of my favorite in any book of all time. Book. That's what we do here on this channel, is book. That leaves us number 1. Number 1. This is the author that I read the most of this year. Out of the 15 books, I read 6 Joe Abercrombie books. That's right. If you have been watching this channel at all before this video, that probably doesn't shock you. The only other video on this channel that's done even remotely well is my first law video essay, which I plan on doing another one covering the standalone books. But, I read all the way up into Sharp Ends, which I'm currently still working on. Joe Abercrombie is my dream author. Everything that dude writes is just exactly what I was looking for at this time in my life. It is just insane how much I could just eat up his stories. His character voices are so unique, it will blow your mind. It is, when deciding what my favorite book of the year was, I knew it was going to be a Joe Abercrombie book, but I didn't know which one. I didn't know which one it was going to be. It was a hard choice. If I was doing all of the books I read this year and was ranking all of them, there would be 3 spots in my top 5 that would be taken up by Joe Abercrombie books. Admittedly, I will say when I read the first law book, I was not the biggest fan. I loved the character work and the world building, but thought the first book was kind of slow, which seems to be the consensus amongst us first law heads. But kind of came down between two books. Best Served Cold, or my number 1 pick. Last Argument of Kings. Now, I think that the way this series ends, this first trilogy ends, is so intelligent and so, like, thought provoking that I struggle to articulate how much it means to me. All Book Talk, BookTube, book guys get like one recommendation to their fans. One that like most people who watch the video will go, hey, you know, this guy made a pretty convincing point. I'm going to read that book. If I could have a say on what that book is, I mean, just get to here. Read these 3 books, please. And there are some critiques that people have leveled at the First Law, especially if you don't like grimdark. If you don't like this sort of bleak, very English, dry humor, then, I mean, you probably won't like this. I personally love it, and that's one of the reasons I love this trilogy, but the main reason I love this trilogy is because it asks the question, can men change? Can people change? Can you change? And it answers it in several different ways throughout the series. And it continues to do that in the next trilogy, the standalone trilogy, which sounds kind of like an oxymoron. And it is. The Great Leveler trilogy is what it should be called, and what it is called sometimes. Yeah. But the way that this series wraps up, the way that these 3, 4, 5 main viewpoint characters end this story, just really hit me right in the gut. I mean, it is just so well done. It's funny. It's very dark, very bleak. I don't feel as though it is super oppressively, like, it's not like, I started The Black Company by, is it Glenn Cook? And I just could not really get into it. That was a little bit too much. There are moments in this series that make my skin crawl, but it turns around and offers some of the most compelling, character-driven story plots you'll ever read. And when I think of The First Law, I think of the characters in this original trilogy. And at the end of the day, this is the one that I gotta go with. This is the one that I gotta choose, and this was the year of Joe Abercrombie, just like last year was the year of Brandon Sanderson. This year, who knows what we'll have in store. Well, sounds like my wife got home. Perfect timing, because we are all done here. Like I said, I plan to read 40 books at most, 25 books at least in 2026. And I plan to be much more active on this channel now that I'm not actively trying to, scrounge my way through school. So look forward to that. And like and subscribe if you liked and subscribed. I want to have an outro song that's like Bear in the Big Blue House, where I like sing it to you. I'm going to work on that. I'll see y'all later.